We are here for day 7 of Kansas City Chiefs training camp, and there are quite a few notes to get into. This was an eventful day for several positions for the Kansas City Chiefs, but kind of quiet for others. Didn't hear a whole lot from the running backs today. No notes on Deneric Prince, but we do have notes on the wide receivers. We do have notes on the offensive line and the defensive backs for sure. A couple notes on the defensive line as well, and one note on the tight ends. Now, I want to start here. Oh, I don't remember who tweeted this out. I believe it was Ron Kopp. Wide receiver Hollywood, or this might have been PJ Green. Wide receiver Hollywood Brown and Clyde Edwards-Helaire are sick. Cornerback Najee Johnson tweaked his right knee that he had surgery on. Head coach Andy Reid called it more of a hamstring than a knee injury, though. And defensive tackle Chris Jones had a groin strain. So just a few updates from the injury report. Again, it's not all that strange to see a whole bunch of names on the injury report at this point in time. 7 practices in, the opening of the season. So this one was a little alarming at first. Hollywood Brown popping up on the injury report in the preseason, not a great thing, but when you take it into fuller account, it is either not as bad or much, much worse. I'm not sure how to take it. The fact that we've already had Xavier Worthy be sick, and now Hollywood Brown and Clyde Edwards-Helaire are sick as well. The Chiefs do not want an outbreak of sick at training camp. That would be absolutely devastating for the early season part of the year for the Kansas City Chiefs. Will it affect their full season tenure? Probably not. But man, you really want to win some of those games against Baltimore and Cincinnati to start the season. Now into the specific notes. At defensive back, Ron Kopp lets us know Chiefs offense finished team by picking up a blitz well, giving Mahomes time to set up and launch downfield to Worthy. Brian Cook stayed on top of the post. Should have brought down an interception to finish the first team period. Now, a couple things worth noting here. Brian Cook, before the draft, was rumored to be a 4.6 40 type guy. He chose not to run the 40, probably for good reason, probably for that very reason. Ended up still being a second-round pick. The fact that, when you watch him, I don't know that you would say he's a slow guy, right? But I don't see I don't remember seeing any tape on him where you think, wow, that guy's a blazer. The fact that he's able to keep with Xavier Worthy downfield means that, A, he's got things under wrap, right? That there are a lot of things you can do from a technique standpoint to really understanding the angles that the ball would have to fall at for that pass to be completed. When do you get out of your back pedal? How early do you diagnose the route, etc.? Or, so either A, he has done those things here, or B, Xavier Worthy has not found his feet in the NFL yet. We're going to chalk it up to Brian Cook being exceptional because there are a lot of notes on Brian Cook from today's practice. Also from Ron, with Jalen Watson and Najee Johnson sidelined, Kelvin Joseph is rotating with the starting nickel D, though during this walkthrough period. So Jalen Watson, Najee Johnson, both sidelined. Kelvin Joseph, who we have talked about a little bit before, and I'm going to go over a couple numbers for Kelvin Joseph and Keith Taylor in a moment because we have a note on both of them. But there's so many cornerbacks and so many safeties, really, on this roster right now. I don't know how this gets resolved. I really don't. If you told me today that Kelvin Joseph is going to go into the season as the number 2 cornerback, I would be a little bit upset for Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson because I thought those guys had potential. I don't know that I would necessarily be surprised. Maybe I'd be maybe I'd be surprised, not shocked, right? That level of surprise isn't there. Bryan Cook appeared to strip Pacheco after a decent catch and run. Again, Bryan Cook popping up all over the defense, all over the field, making plays. He is becoming a playmaker type safety. He is becoming that Mike Edwards type safety. Mike Edwards, by the way, not a whole lot of physical tools, right? He wasn't the biggest guy. He wasn't the tallest guy. He wasn't the fastest guy. He didn't have the greatest vertical leap, any of these things. Didn't have the most sacks as a safety, didn't have the most tackles as a safety, didn't have the most PBUs as a safety. Mike Edwards was just one of those guys that somehow found himself on the receiving end of so many bounces of the football. He was just always there to make a big play. Bryan Cook seems to be growing into that type of persona. Shamari Connor knocked the ball out of Noah Gray's waiting hands on a quick 1-versus-1. This safety group is so active, so hot right now. So there's two things going on in this comment here. Number one, waiting hands will get you cut in the NFL. Waiting for a ball in the NFL is a very bad idea. You attack the football. This might be part of, and I haven't noticed this on tape, but maybe it's there. This phrase is very alarming for anyone who is a receiver or tight end in the NFL, waiting hands. I haven't noticed any of this on tape, but if it is there, that might be part of the sort of plateau for Noah Gray. He came into the season, I would contest that he had a disappointing rookie year. He was not a late round draft pick. He was a mid round draft pick. Didn't really do much his rookie season. His sophomore and third seasons in the NFL, he had basically the same year. Enter Jared Wiley, which we will get to later. But Shamari Connor also being a guy who is active and knocking the ball out, etc., is good to see. First team 11's Mahomes bought time in the pocket, tried to hit Sky running across the end zone, but Bryan Cook tracked it down and knocked it away at the catch point. First off, has anyone seen or heard or read of Sky Moore having a reception this entire training camp? I don't know that I have. So that's upsetting. Waiting hands and being Sky Moore are ways to get cut in the NFL. But again, we have Bryan Cook racing onto the scene in order to break up the pass. Bryan Cook was everywhere today. And the final note on the defensive backs here. Starters doing 7-on-7, Chiefs defense had both Kelvin Joseph and Keith Taylor rotate in. A few reps together as the two outside cornerbacks. Joseph got an extended look in there and actually broke up back-to-back passes sticking on Worthy. So Kelvin Joseph is a trip. Kelvin Joseph, formerly a second-round pick, number 44 overall, out of LSU and Kentucky, drafted by the Cowboys, spent time in 2023 with both the Dolphins and the Seahawks. Guys, hasn't really figured it out at the NFL level yet. We have to admit that. Hasn't really lived up to the potential that he has at the NFL level yet. We have to admit that. Listen to this athletic profile. 5'11 and a half, so basically 6 foot. Basically, he's a 6 foot guy. 197 pounds. It's a good number. 31 and 7/8 inch arms, basically 32 inch arms at 6 feet tall. 40-yard dash of 4.34. That is elite. A 1.44 10-yard split. Guys, I don't know A 1-4-4 10-yard split is insane. A 1-4-4 10-yard split is absolutely incredible. A 1-4-4 10-yard split, I don't know the record for 10-yard split. Obviously, it is not an official thing, but that has to be close to the top. 1-4-4. Let me see. I'm trying to see if I can find something. I apologize. I should have tried to bring this up beforehand, but doesn't have it. So the website that I normally check for the percentages does not have his, because he tested at the pro day, I suppose, not the combine, does not have those numbers recorded. But a 1-4-4 10-yard split, go find another one. 35-inch vertical, not the greatest in the world. 10-foot 8-inch broad jump, not the greatest in the world. A 4-3-4 40-yard dash with a 1-4-4 10-yard split. 6 feet tall, 197 pounds. These are the tools. These are some of the bigger tools necessary to be a starter in the NFL. Now, he is here on a very cheap deal because he was cut three times, before finding his way to Kansas City. If the Kansas City Chiefs can turn his career around, they could have an absolutely elite secondary once again. Now, Keith Taylor, we went over this a little bit yesterday, another just physically imposing defensive back. 6'2.25", 187 pounds, so he's a little bit skinny, but still at 6'2.25", a 4.53 40-yard dash, which isn't great, a 1.58 10-yard split, not good, but those are definitely numbers that keep you in the NFL. You can stay in the NFL at those numbers so long as you execute. None of his other testing numbers are particularly that impressive. 3-cone drill of 6.85, but that's a big guy. If these two cornerbacks, and so he was a Carolina Panther for 2021 and 2022 after being taken in the 5th round, 166th overall, out of Washington. If these two guys become absolutely anything at all, if these two guys are able to be the third, fourth, fifth corners on the Kansas City Chiefs, it's basically like UDFAs, because they are signed after not making it on their first teams, and first, second, and third teams as far as JoeH is concerned. Notes on the defensive line. PJ Green tells us, Chiefs defense dominating the 9 versus 7 run period. Inside runs were stuffed with every team. Outside runs worked a little better. Might have something to do with defensive tackles Neil Farrell and Fabian Levette as run defenders. Now, this is an exciting name to see mentioned here. Very exciting to see Fabian Levette mentioned here as a contributor. But I'm going to posit that it is even more exciting to see a little bit of shine on Neil Farrell's name. Neil Farrell, the trade for Neil Farrell, so far has not worked out for the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's okay. Sometimes trades don't work out. Brett Veach went out there and got aggressive when he knew he didn't have a defensive tackle on the roster, and he was basically redshirted in his time on the Kansas City Chiefs to this point. The Raiders in division willing to trade him to the Kansas City Chiefs. Not a great sign, but you have done your scouting on him. Maybe you think you have something figured out. If Neil Farrell finally can contribute to the Kansas City Chiefs, finally can become a run-stuffing defensive tackle that he has the size to be, then that is absolutely phenomenal for the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs right now need someone to step up at defensive tackle. The Kansas City Chiefs need a run-stopping defensive tackle. Neil Farrell goes 6'4", 325 pounds. So if he is able to step up and be that guy, That is absolutely great for the Kansas City Chiefs. I expected a little bit to see Fabian Levette start popping up once the pads came on. He is not the most physically impressive guy as far as he's going to look good in shorts and a t-shirt, right? So that first part of camp isn't really going to be what favors Fabian Levette. Now he should be starting to make a name for himself, and he is. If Neil Farrell, guys, if Neil Farrell can come on and Neil Farrell can be a run-stopping defensive tackle, the Chiefs have a complete defensive line. Because I think Derek Nottie has often been good against the run, a non-factor against the pass, really. Tershawn Wharton has been sort of an even hand against the run and the pass, just sort of a productive player, but not taking that next step. But after that, you had nothing last season. Nothing. I mean, and again, Pennell, yes. But I think you want to save him for the playoffs. Because he's not the type of guy you want to give 1,000 reps during the season. You want to save him for the playoffs, keep him at full strength. And I think he'll be at full strength if the Kansas City Chiefs are able to keep him on the sidelines. Neil Farrell and Fabian Levette making the Kansas City Chiefs, forcing the Kansas City Chiefs into making a decision at the defensive tackle position is something that I did not see coming. Did not see that coming. What I mean by that is, hey, if both of these guys work out, you've got Chris Jones, you've got Mike Pennell, you've got Derek Nottie, you've got Neil Farrell, you've got Fabian Levette, you've got Tershawn Wharton. Are you taking 6 defensive tackles into the season? So if they're forcing the Kansas City Chiefs to make a decision on one of those names, 2 of those names, somewhere, that means the Kansas City Chiefs are in a place of strength. Also from PJ Green, Felix Enudike-Uzomah is really unlocking the pass rush bag that he had at K-State. Could be a big year coming up for him. Also made some good run stops today. Now, Felix needs to come on. Felix needs to take that next step for the Kansas City Chiefs. Felix, it is maybe a sign that the Kansas City Chiefs did not necessarily think he was going to take that next step in that they re-signed Mike Danna. In my opinion, Felix's ceiling is sort of a Mike Danna type player. Obviously, that's not a bust. But obviously, that's not what you want to be spending a first-round pick on. If he is able to become better this season, to contribute this season, it means good things for the Kansas City Chiefs and rotating a defensive line. It means good things for the Kansas City Chiefs in case something goes wrong. Injuries they've popped up already for the Kansas City Chiefs through training camp. Should they continue to pop up, knowing that the Chiefs have this type of depth at the defensive end position is a good thing. And saying that he looks markedly different. I've seen several people say that he looks markedly different than he did last year. That's a good thing. Last season, by the numbers, if you factor in snaps to tackles to sacks, he didn't do a whole lot in the sack department, but snaps to tackles to knockdowns to pressures, all this stuff. I've done the numbers on that. Roughly, on a per-snap basis, he was about as productive as Mike Danna. Taking a step up from that, if Felix Enudike-Uzomah is able to be better than Mike Danna, the Kansas City Chiefs once again will find themselves in a good place, and Brett Veach will once again prove yours truly wrong. Last note on the defensive line comes from Ron. Fabian Levette just blew by C.J. Hansen almost untouched on an inside move in 1v1s. Obviously not great for him, C.J. Hansen, but C.J. Hansen was a 7th rounder. That said, you know where I'm going with this. CJ Hansen was a 7th rounder. CJ Hansen was drafted in the 7th round. Fabian Levett was undrafted. Looking at CJ Hansen, I do believe that he has the potential. I do believe that he has mobility on the line. I think that he could be multiple. We will have a note later from him, but the reason I am prefacing that now is I do not believe this is merely a product of the fact that CJ Hansen was a 7th round pick. He's coming from a very small school, doesn't really know what he's doing. No, he has talent. Fabian Levett blowing by him, Fabian Levett just blowing up a play, is something I think we're going to start seeing as the Kansas City Chiefs have pads on. I think we're going to see it in the preseason. I think Fabian Levett is going to make this 53-man roster. There is a video on the channel about Fabian Levett. There's a video on the channel about CJ Hansen and all the players the Chiefs drafted, but one of the UDFA that I made an entire video about was Fabian Levett. I think he makes the 53. I think he has an outside shot at becoming a starter maybe this season. On the offensive line, Ron says first look at second-team offensive line on the sleds features a changeup, Nourzad running at left guard, and Hansen at center. Swapped spots for the rookies. We talked about this a little bit yesterday with Hunter Nourzad, if he was going to get some looks at the left guard position for the Kansas City Chiefs, assuming, I think at this point, that the Joe Thuney injury is going to maybe lead to lost reps during the regular season. Maybe that's not the case. Better to be prepared in case it is. And Hunter Nourzad getting those reps. Now, here's the thing. CJ Hansen is a Joe Thuney type offensive lineman. CJ Hansen is a guy who, in my opinion, is going to be much better suited for pass blocking, much better suited for zone blocking, not going to be a mauler in the NFL, much like Joe Thuney. Joe Thuney is hey, I'm going to get in your way, and you're not going to get to my quarterback. Joe Thuney is hey, I'm going to get my hips, let me get my hip. I'm just going to move my hips real quick. Nope, here we are. And the running back is passed. That's Joe Thuney. That's CJ Hansen. Hunter Nourzad is more of a bruiser. Hunter Nourzad is the guy that's going to put his face mask between your numbers, and may the strongest man win. So when you start to look at things, and look, so I'm also going to preface it with this. I'm not sold on the fact that Jawaan Taylor is going to be the starting right tackle. I think that as these young guys, Wanye Morris and Kingsley Suamataia, are given reps, the coaching staff, and this is completely tinfoil hat stuff, right? Like, nobody has written about this. Nobody has talked about this. None of the coaches have mentioned anything about this. I just think when they start looking at the talent they have in those two guys, it's going to start being weird having Jawaan Taylor on the field maybe, who has struggled lately. So in that case, if Joe Thuney misses a game, you have an offensive line from left to right that might be Kingsley Suamataia, who's a big, strong, physical guy, Hunter Nourzad, who's a big, strong, physical guy, Creed Humphrey, who's a strong, physical guy, Trey Smith, who's a big, strong, physical guy, and then Wanye Morris over at the right tackle, who's a big, strong, physical guy. It might be a whole lot of bruisers on the offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs, which is a wild conundrum perhaps for them to find themselves in which they find themselves. From Peter Sweeney, for the third straight padded look, it appears Kingsley Suamataia and Mike Caliendo will work with the first team at left tackle and left guard, respectively. I expect Mike Caliendo is a good player. Mike Caliendo is great to pick up as a UDFA because he is an NFL lineman. He's not Hunter Nourzad. Mike Caliendo is more limited than Hunter Nourzad. I think Mike Caliendo might be more mobile than Hunter Nourzad, but I think that he is more limited overall than Hunter Nourzad. And we're going to wrap this up with, running short on time here. 3 notes on the wide receivers and 1 on a tight end from Pete. The Chiefs' complete attendance I already kind of went over this. I was just doing this to talk about Hollywood Brown being absent, but when you back up and you look at it, Hollywood Brown, Justin Watson, both gone. Going to be rough for the wide receiver core. From Nick Roche, noteworthy as the Chiefs work on red zone that Jared Wiley and Justyn Ross were in on most snaps. Irv Smith also caught a touchdown from Wentz. This is something that I talked about a little bit. I don't remember in which video. I think it was one that I talked about Hollywood Brown. I think this offense is going to be 2 different offenses. I think this offense is going to be from wherever they get the ball to the red zone. You're going to have Xavier Worthy. You're going to have Hollywood Brown. You're going to have McCole Hardman. You're going to have all of this speed on the field. Once they hit the red zone, once they get in scoring position, you're going to take all those guys out. You're going to have 3 tight ends, Noah Gray, Travis Kelce, Jared Wiley, all on the field. You're going to have big hulking wide receivers like Justyn Ross, who's their only 6'3 plus wide receiver, I think. It's going to be a whole different offense. Teams will not be able to prepare for that. You will not be able to prepare for the fact that inside the red zone, Andy Reid's offense is completely different. Inside the red zone, there's no speed guys. There's a whole bunch of size. When you're at your own 20, speed for days. When you're at your own 20, they got guys on rollerblades. It's roller derby. Once you get into the red zone, it's the Beefcake Factory. It's going to be, this is wild. I think this is going to be a wild situation because it's going to be 2 completely different offenses from the rest of the field versus the red zone. So you've practiced your whole week getting ready for the speed wide receivers, and all of a sudden Xavier Worthy catches a 40-yard bomb, gets it down to the 18, and now there's no speed on the field. Now it's all Isaiah Pacheco running into your face mask. It's all Jared Wiley in the back of the end zone. It's all Justyn Ross in the corner, right? It's going to be absolutely wild. I got to get these things. My software is going to shut down on me. But the last note here. Oh, interesting to see Joshua Williams working with the second team, period. He allowed a jump ball touchdown on the sideline to Justyn Ross. Justyn Ross is active. And finally, a note here on Jared Wiley from Nick. Wiley with another touchdown grab. He's going to make an impact this year. Jared Wiley is absolutely going to be a part of this offense. Jared Wiley is absolutely going to get monster reps for the Kansas City Chiefs. In my opinion, Jared Wiley is going to be the number 2 tight end. I see no reason. And look, I haven't seen Jared Wiley in the NFL, but I've seen Noah Gray in the NFL for 3 years now. I don't know what Noah Gray presents that Jared Wiley does not. I know a few things Jared Wiley offers that Noah Gray does not. Not saying this to rip down Noah Gray. I hope Noah Gray plays 15 years in the NFL. Seems like a stand-up guy. I just don't think that physically he's Jared Wiley. That's all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Kansas City Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week, so make sure you are subscribed to come back for more, and as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.